failure doesn't feel good. Or at least it doesn't until you change the way you think about it. Too often, people put so much time and energy into avoiding experiencing failure that they fail to move forward at all. That can be said for life in general, but especially true in recovery. When fear holds you back from even trying to quit, and then keeps holding you back from making the other changes that need to be made too. In this podcast, we're chatting with Katie, Matt, and Elizabeth to talk about how the fear of failure has shown up in our sobriety journeys and how we've learned to not just face the fear, but embrace it.
Welcome to Through the Glass Recovery podcast, where we believe that connection is the opposite of addiction, vulnerability is the antidote to shame, and that recovery isn't just rewarding, but it's also a lot of fun. We're your hosts, Julie and Steve. Listen as we get together with friends to shed light on the hard things, talk about the other side of addiction, and how we create a life so full there's no space left for alcohol.
Before we dive in, I want to ask you for a quick favor. If this podcast has ever made you feel seen, given you a new perspective, or helped you in any way, the best way to support it is by leaving a quick rating and review. It takes less than a minute, and it makes a huge difference. It helps more people who need this message find it. So, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, go tap those stars and drop a few words. We'd be so grateful. Now, let's dig into this episode.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Through the Glass Recovery podcast. This is episode 135. We have all fresh blood today, which I think is amazing. We have so many repeat guests, which we love. Doesn't happen very often that everybody is new. This should be a really cool, really fun time today.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. So I'm going to, as always, start with our introductions. And Matt was kind enough to volunteer to go first. So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, you bet. My name is Matt Robinson. I'm a co-host of Till the Wheels Fall Off podcast. I've been in recovery since April 13th of 2013, so about 30 days. I'll have 12 years. I'm losing track now, 12 years.
Awesome.
Yeah. My wife and I specialize in, we don't just talk about recovery from the addict's perspective. It's primarily from the other side of addiction. It's about how relationships are affected, how spouses are affected. And that's really our center of focus. It's been a really fun conversation because you don't just talk about recovery. It's about relationships as a whole and have some really awesome conversations doing it.
Really cool. Yeah. And for our listeners, make sure you check the show notes. We're going to have links to Matt's podcast and Lizzie's podcast and all of the other good stuff these folks are doing in the recovery space. So for sure, check the show notes and you can keep up with all of their projects. Thanks, Matt. It's really good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Lizzie, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. My name is Lizzie, and I'm a co-host of the podcast Intelligence on the Rocks, which is basically we rack our brains and try to figure out why such intelligent people end up alcoholics, right? And life is like living on the rocks. So what we try to do, my partner Antonio and I, is just talk about real life and how it's a lot more difficult, but also easier than we expected. And we come out once a week. We're in our 6th season, and we're just really impressed with the sober community that we've discovered out here. It's fantastic, and I'm so happy to be able to be on the show.
Awesome. We're really happy to have you. I don't know that we've ever had two podcasters at the same time on here, so this is super cool. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. It's really neat to get to hang out with you in person, or at least 2D person. So, and last but not least is Katie, who is not a podcaster, but is actually local to Steve and I. So we have gotten to hang out with Katie a little bit in person.
Yes,
Do you want to?
absolutely. Kind of odd woman out here, but I
give it my best shot. Yes, we are neighbors, so I have had the chance to meet both Julie and Steve in person, which is awesome. Makes this a little bit more comfortable for me. And Matt and Lizzie, nice to meet you too as well. So my name is Katie. I am 39 years old, and I am coming up on 3 years of recovery as of next month.
Yes.
Yes. I reside in Grand Junction, Colorado, where I found my current occupation as a recovery coach, as well as where I found my husband. Shout out to Sammy. I am a recovery coach at Peer180 Recovery Community Organization here in Grand Junction, Colorado, and we do a wide variety of services, but I specialize in coordinating the young adult program.
Awesome. Yeah, I love what you do. Steve and I have had the pleasure of being involved with Peer 180 in a lot of different ways and gotten to know a lot of you guys. And a lot of people from Peer 180 have actually joined us on the podcast too. So yeah, it is great to have you, Katie. I think we've been trying to get you on here for so long. So I'm glad
Since like
finally
January, something like that. So we're good. I'm glad it all worked out.
With me, I'm happy to be here.
fair. Fair. Lizzie, I saw your look. Do you want to tell everybody how long you've been sober?
Yes, I forgot. I've been sober since January 9th, 2017. So I just got 8 years.
Really cool. Congratulations. Sweet. Okay, so for our topic, if you've never learned how to process it, failure can be a really hard, really uncomfortable feeling. A few brushes with failure naturally makes us want to do everything in our power to avoid it, which includes avoiding doing something altogether. So, we're going to talk about the fear of failure today. I think fear of failure is holding so many people back in their lives and in their recoveries, and it's an important conversation to have. So, when has fear of failure shown up in your life? When have you let it hold you back, or when have you overcome it? And what did that look like? Anybody is welcome to start, and we'll just jump into it.
I can go ahead and start. I put a few thoughts down on paper here. For me, I used to think that failure was the worst thing that could happen to me. I had always been a high achiever, so when I didn't get things right on the first try, I took it pretty hard. I remember getting my first D on a paper in college, and it wasn't just the grade, it felt like proof that I wasn't as capable as I thought I was. For a long time, I believed that success meant doing everything perfectly. I am definitely a recovering perfectionist as well, still struggle with that from time to time. But if something doesn't come naturally, I thought maybe it just wasn't meant for me. I saw mistakes as setbacks instead of opportunities. I did overcome it though. Over time, I realized that failure isn't about getting things wrong. It's about not giving up and about showing up. Today is an example of that. A little nerve wracking being on, a podcast for my first time. But, as long as I show up and try my best, it's a success in my book. I had to start looking at failure differently. Instead of seeing it as a reason to quit, I started asking myself, did I do my best? Did I learn something? Am I still moving forward? All signs of it being growth and not a failure. Once I had made that shift, everything changed. I stopped expecting myself to be perfect. I started valuing growth instead. Now I see failure as a part of progress, not the opposite of it. If I mess up, that just means I'm learning. And honestly, that can be a lot more exciting than getting everything right all the time anyway. So if I stumble on my words in this podcast, which I already have a few times, sorry if that sounds scripted, but like you said, still working on, the perfectionism side. I won't take it as a sign that I don't belong here. Instead, I'll take it as proof that I'm still showing up, still learning, and still growing.
Absolutely. It is you said something in there that I think is so important, and I did the same thing. I'm the high achiever perfectionist type like you are. That's why we get along, Katie. But I avoided anything I wasn't naturally good at. So if I attempted something once and I sucked at it, I was like, okay, I'm never going to do that ever. It's just not going to be an option for me in my life. And I limited myself so much in everything because I wasn't afraid to try new things. And I wasn't afraid to try again if I failed once. And just being willing to shift that opens up so much opportunity for new things and for growth. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Analysis paralysis is another thing that I struggle with sometimes too. I think it goes hand in hand with perfection. A lot of times I will overthink something to the point of just deciding not to do it. Sure, okay, yep, I don't know how to do that. Don't necessarily want to fail, so I'm going to overanalyze it to the point to where I talk myself out of doing it in the first place.
yeah. Did you guys ever when you were trying to get sober, when it was like a new thing for you, did fear of failure hold you back as far as I know for me, I didn't tell anybody that I was going to try to quit because I didn't want anybody to know if I failed, which meant I had zero accountability. Like I gave myself permission to not follow through. Did a fear of failure hold you guys back in the very beginning of your sobriety at all?
Well, which time? Maybe that's the key question. When it finally came down to the point that I was going to end up with cirrhosis, my eyes were turning yellow and I literally couldn't function without drinking. It wasn't an option to fail in that sense. I mean, it did actually, when I got to rehab, I decided I would rather die, that I would come back to Houston and drink until I died. That was actually what my brain said was the best thing to do because the thought of living a life without alcohol just didn't compute at all. So I wasn't afraid of failure. Um, in that instance, I kind of, bring it on. But I liked this topic. Actually, I thought it was fear. So that's just my ADD mind, but which is also great when when it works. But I thought, fear of failure, and just because you get sober doesn't mean that everything works. And I guess I kind of thought that it would be different than it is, but I had this huge fear of failing my child that I hurt when I was drinking. This child is now 26 years old. But I see this showing up in my life. I'm sure many of you are people pleasers. And for whatever reason,
Whole bunch of head nods when you said that. Every single one of us.
hey, and so, even when you're drinking, when I was drinking, I was still pleasing people, right? I'm just not myself. So I wrote it, fear, there's two different kinds of fear, and there's a good fear, like it's the guy coming up the stairs and you get that feeling. He's not a nice guy. But then there's the psychological fear. And I think that my psychological fear is acting sometimes like a fear of survival. And it's like, if you fail, it's the end of the world. Like your child is going to end up homeless and dead. And you did all these things wrong, for 8 years of their life. And you've been trying to make up for it for 8 years of their life, but nothing is working. And yes, I guess I have a fear of failing them. But then am I failing myself? Absolutely. So what's the balance?
I think guilt and regret play a lot into that particular fear that you're talking about right there. And I have a kid who's about the same age or a little younger, but I've experienced a lot of that. And I feel like, again, with the perfectionism and like the all or nothing thing we
Mhm.
do, right? But I have so much guilt and so much regret about the things that I did when my kids were growing up and the ways that I did just not show up. And so for me, I'm like, I'm sober now. I'm going to fix it. 100%, right? I'm going to make everything better. Like, we are still human. And recovery does not make you superhuman. We're still going to screw up. We're still going to make mistakes. We're still going to hurt people as much as we don't want to. And I think that there has to be that balance, because I do the same thing where I'm like, all right, I'm going now, since I screwed it up so bad before, now I'm going to perfect it. And we can't, right? I think that's a really important thing to recognize. We're never going to be perfect. We just, because we're sober and we're growing and we're gaining so much emotional intelligence, we can come back to those mistakes in a much better way. It's the best we can do. But I feel you on that. I've been in a really similar spot with my own kiddos.
I feel stuck. I think that sometimes the fear of failure keeps people stuck. And like you said, like you were asking, is it getting sober? Were people afraid to fail at getting sober? I mean, it's like I'm stuck. It's a deeper emotional wound, I think, than people realize. It's not just getting sober. It's having to feel all those feelings that you've numbed for so long. And how the fuck are you supposed to deal with them? I don't have tools. I don't have the tools, and then so you do it and you're like, oh wow, I ordered iced tea and I actually want it. That was I wanted, was just to order iced tea and mean it. But then all these other failures and fears of failure still come in. I mean, it's not a fix all thing, but I still have like the thinking that I'm not good enough, I guess.
It's that right there. You're talking and I'm like, Katie called this out earlier. It's the self-worth piece, right? If we fail, that tells us I'm not good enough.
Right.
And we have to rewrite that as, if I fail and I learn from it, now I'm growing and I'm getting even better, which is a lot. But no, I think that is such good stuff, Lizzie. That's exactly what most of us have struggled with. Thank you so much for sharing that.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking, Matt?
I was just thinking about, like, when I was first getting sober, I tried on my own more times than I can count. And let me back up. I think my entire life I've slow played everything and I've sandbagged everything. I know, and I never had any doubt that if I wanted to get sober, I could have. Same with school. Like, I was a terrible student in school just because I didn't give a shit. I graduated high school with like a 1.2 GPA. They more or less just forced me out of school. They were just like, get the fuck out of here. In year 2, never show up, just let him go. I was lovable, but I was a terrible student. And then in college, like, my wife, we've been together since we were 14, and she was like, "You've got to get together. Like, I know you're not stupid. You just need, like, you're scared to commit to things. You have a fear of commitment to things." And she was right. I'm incredibly stubborn, and I knew that if I actually committed to it, then I could do it. It was the fear of, okay, what would have to change if that were true, though, if I was gonna stick with it? So, like, in academics, I was able to do that. I graduated college like a 4.0. I'm not dumb. Once I commit to something, I'm very good at it generally. And so with recovery, I knew for the longest time I was gonna have to quit. Like, I knew long before I checked into treatment that I had a major problem. And when I finally got ready, it's that feeling when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain associated with change. And
Mm-hmm.
I was, I remember checking in there and they told us, like, they give you like these morbid stats around sobriety 1 year. They're like, 1 in 20 of you, one in 20 is about what stays sober out of this treatment center. And I was looking around the room and there was 20 of us. And I was like, it sucks to be the other 19 of you. That was the only thought that I had in my mind. I was like, it sucks to be the other 19 of you. I'm going to figure this out. Like, there's a well-worn path. It is possible. I can do it. I guess when I finally apply myself, I'm able to do a lot of great things. It's just, I don't think it's a fear of failure. It's a fear of what has to change in my life that I'm not ready to let go of.
I
That makes
fucking love that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like what would have to change in my life on a day-to-day basis in order for me to achieve this? And it's like, I know I can do it. Anyone can do it. Like, I want anyone can get sober and stay sober. It's just a matter of coming to terms with what would have to change within me in order to make that possible. And I just stewed on that shit forever and ever. But I think that we're all incredibly capable whenever we set our minds to things. Like, as stubborn as you can be in addiction, you can be that way in recovery. That's been my experience anyway. But I think it does bleed into other places in my life. Like, when I think about the fear of failure, especially professionally. Like, I I get real chicken shit about making changes in my professional career. Like when we started our podcast, it was supposed to be something that we just enjoyed, like me and my wife. It's just a project we wanted to do. I was like, I love podcasts. It's like my favorite medium to consume. I love it. And I wanted to start a show. And then I don't know, within a few weeks, like I felt that feeling. I was like, I'm not going to be able to stop this now. There's just no way. Like there's no way I can't stop now. Like no matter what, hell or high water, we don't miss an episode. Like I don't miss a newsletter release. Like we don't miss a meeting. Like it's non-effing stop. If we tie it back far enough, I think that there's a fear there. Like fear is categorized in essentially fear that you're going to lose something that you have, fear that you're not going to get something that you want, or this sort of like general fear of the unknown, you know? I think for me, it's probably fear that I'm going to lose something I have that scares me more than anything. Even if what I have sucks, even if what I have I'm uncomfortable with, it's just like it's my shit, and so I'm
Because you know what it is, right?
right, like the familiar. It's almost like the devil, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that keeps me stuck personally, and especially 12 years out, this keeps me stuck more than anything. Like I'm not. I know I'm capable at this point because I have evidence in my life I've been capable. If I keep doing what I've been doing, I'm gonna be okay. It's the other stuff in life I think where that really gets to me. It's like you can get super complacent, and it is a form of fear. It really is a form of fear. Like every single person on the show, everyone listening has evidence in their life that they've survived 100% of the hardest days up to this point.
Yeah.
So why the fuck wouldn't we do the next 100%? Like it's a really good bet to say that we're going to be okay. Yeah. But it's a very good bet. But here I sit with all these ideas and these plans and these things I want to achieve. And it's like, but in order to do that, so much would have to change. And it keeps me from really doubling down. Because once I start, I just don't stop, you know?
What am I going to have to lose to get what I want to get to get
Yeah.
where I want to get?
Yeah,
And-
it's like Thomas Sowell said, like there's no such thing as decisions in life. It's just trade-offs. It's just trade-offs. And so
Yeah, it's what sacrifice do you want to make?
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
what it comes down to. Even when it comes to quitting, what is my sacrifice? Right? I have to sacrifice this relationship that I have with alcohol for what? And in the end, the answer is I have no fucking idea because I have this great relationship with alcohol that's ruining my life. That massive dichotomy that's that
paradox.
It is. It's and it's absolutely true. We've all experienced it. And the Steve before, I would leave everything to the very last minute, especially when it was something I didn't know because I was afraid of fucking it up. So that was my fear of failure. And then I'd get so close to the wall, master procrastinator, where I would just have to do the thing no matter how crappy it was. Then I would just do it. I would survive it. Generally speaking, it would be pretty good. And then I would lie to myself and tell myself I was great under pressure. So really easy to justify it. But I associated failure with shame.
Oh yeah.
So and this goes with the perfectionists, this goes with the people pleasers. It ties right into both sides of that, where if I did wrong, I was bad. Or if I didn't accomplish the thing that I set out to. So I would avoid basically at all costs, Matt, like what you're saying, committing to anything. Because this way, if I didn't commit to anything, I couldn't fail. I couldn't, I didn't say I was going to do that. I wanted to, I just didn't commit to that thing. And so I avoided that part. And it was,
Yeah, and I feel like also, you can commit yourself to something and give it 100%, but there are gonna be people that don't like it or think it's dumb, or so that's another thing that sometimes really is my fear of, if I give all of myself and I put everything into this and then, I'm misunderstood or it's taken the wrong way, or I mean, it's just all that forward predicting that, fear of that as well. Fear of, no, I don't like being misunderstood. I don't know why that's so important to be heard correctly. I don't know where that comes from. But Yeah.
relate to that, or will I at least have the chance to explain myself? If we're go right the first time, I think of that shame, and I think of where is my self-worth like derived from. And in recovery, I started deriving it from myself to gain that like shame resilience. Like as long as I was okay with it, I knew that I was good. That makes any sense.
Definitely. I was listening to a Mark Manson podcast the other day, and he was like, it is not fear of failure. What it really is fear of what other people are gonna think. Like, and I thought that was interesting. I think for me, and like you two girls are talking about, like, and Steve too, for me, the failure was the shame once people found out that I failed. Like that was the scariest part of it. So then I wouldn't say I wouldn't speak it out loud. Like you guys were talking about setting the goals. I wouldn't speak out loud what it was that I wanted to accomplish. I would like have it in my head. But as long as I didn't say it, then if I did fail, nobody knew that I failed. And there's
All in the woods.
exactly. But I think there's so much power in speaking it out loud, saying, this is my goal, this is my intention, this is what I'm working for, at least to one other person. Because otherwise it's not even real. It doesn't really exist, right?
Right. But how does that reflect in a child? Like, or a profession. So here's my goal to have an adjusted child who knows how to pay their own rent. Right? It's not going to happen. Like I have to give up. Right? Or if I want to be a skydiver, I'm afraid,
So
but
you have more control over being a skydiver than you do over figuring out your kid's life for them. Your goal can't be, I'm going to make this other person do this thing. Your goal can only be, I'm going to do XYZ.
But you're right, because people will be like, wow, she really fucked up that kid, Like,
Once again, that's their problem.
Their problem, not yours.
absolutely right. I have no idea. I tried my best.
So the fun part was after I got sober and I started talking, because even talking about it is terrifying. But after I got sober, I started doing the complete opposite of fearing failure. I started making friends with just this thing here. It was a problem because it stopped me from doing all of the fucking things that I wanted to do. Everything. So I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to start running into failure like it's a brick wall. You can ask Julie. Because if there was something that I wanted and it was something that I feared, and as soon as I started saying it and talking about it, it wouldn't be too long after that where I was going ahead and doing something drastic to change that feeling.
Good for you.
Because I didn't trust it. I didn't trust myself. The fear of failure was a lack of trust in me. And the only way to find out whether I was capable or not was to just jump in the water and find out if I can swim. Well, I don't know if I can swim. You can swim. You can absolutely swim. You can breathe. You can do all of the other things. You can figure it all out. You just have to figure it out on the fly. Well, we're all capable of figuring things out on the fly. It doesn't have to look amazing. It doesn't have to be perfect. If blindfold yourself and throw something at a dartboard, you'll hit the wall. And then you can find your way to the center. But if you never throw the dart, you'll never find your way to the center.
Steve and I are dead opposites, because I am like, okay, here's this thing that I want. I map out an entire plan. I want it to be clean and smooth and look really good. And I mean, there's a reason Steve's accomplished a lot more than I have, because I like to feel like I'm in control. I love feeling like I'm in control.
See, the thing is I feel like I'm in control when all I have is me.
Yeah.
Everything else can be a shit show. It doesn't matter. I have control of how I react in whatever situation I just threw myself in, right? I just threw myself in CrossFit gym 6 weeks ago, and I joined the CrossFit Open, which is like the worldwide challenge, and I got my ass handed to me last night. Like, handed to me. I didn't get to the second round because I couldn't pull myself up enough. And I sat there for 12 minutes, and Julie watched like at least 5 of those minutes. I was trying to pull myself up this bar 18 times. I had 4 left at the end of 12 minutes, and I felt like I failed. I at least wanted to get to the second round. Everybody else around me, and I heard this from a lady this morning, that was inspiring. These other people that were doing all of the things, to me, that was what success looked like. The guy that was sitting underneath the bar on round 1.5, that was frustrated, that felt like crap about himself a couple of times, I didn't give up. I sat there and I tried to get, my arms were like wet noodles. And I still managed to get a couple more before the end. And I tried and I tried and I tried. Not a failure.
No, it's not.
I found my physical barrier. I found what I need to work on. I got to learn something. I got to see what it looked like for me to not give up in the face of everyone else around me kicking my ass.
Did you get a t-shirt?
I don't even need a t-shirt. I don't even need a t-shirt. I don't need anything.
No, but failure is only failure when you give up.
Yeah.
Right? We've got to stop even calling. If you're continuing to try, you haven't failed. Stop calling it failure. Call it
I'm not
something
afraid of
different.
I mean, you're right. You're not wrong. But failure is a path to learning resilience.
Absolutely. I think one of the best quotes on failure and success was Winston Churchill. He said that success is going from failure to failure without a loss of enthusiasm. Simply that. It's resilience. Like, I don't believe that, like you'd said, Julie, I don't think that there is such a thing as failure until you give in and you stop. I think that in every single moment of failure in your life, doesn't matter what it is, you can alchemize it. You can it's alchemy. That's what recovery is about. It's about learning alchemy. We take shit and we turn it into something beautiful. It's all about your perspective, and it's your perception of what you're willing to do with it. At one point in my life, if I didn't feel like I could accomplish something, I wouldn't even try. Like, I intentionally kept the bar for myself so fucking low that I couldn't trip over it.
Hell yeah.
And no one expected anything more of me. Because if I tried, then I would have a standard to live up to at that point. And it's just too much work for me. But in doing that and challenging ourselves and in just starting without overanalyzing, just start, because once you start, you're not going to be able to stop. We all have that in common. It works in every aspect of our lives, and it can work beautifully. It can work for us if we allow it to. I think it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's a fucking feature. We can use it to our benefit if we allow ourselves to do it. But it's going from those failures and saying, not, oh my God, I failed, I'm horrible, I'm such a loser. It's no, what did I learn that I can apply the next time? Because I don't quit. I don't know how. The only thing in my life I've ever quit is drugs and alcohol. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have anything else?
No, I don't.
Just throwing it out there in case you wanted to share anything else.
No, I don't.
Matt basically summed that up so good.
Yeah, I think he really did.
I think especially with the Winston Churchill quote, I mean, come on. Okay.
You follow that up.
You're right about failure is one of my favorite topics. I get to talk about it all day long. I mean, I write about it. We talk about it on our show as well. It's one of my favorite topics. I think we had a show or an episode early on titled something to the effect of like, there's no such thing as failure. It's what you make of it, right? Like, think about, like, I think this is what is meant when they say that relapse is part of recovery. I think that you can bastardize that and you can weaponize it against your loved ones just as easily as you could to say, this can be a learning experience, because each of us before we stopped had relapsed. We all did. I relapsed more times than I can count until you don't anymore. I had learned enough about myself and the nature of me and decisions that I make to understand at some point, the number I can have responsibly is 0. It's just 0. At this point, I knew what I had to do. You know what I mean? But leading up to that, every time I would quote unquote slip, which is never really a slip. It was intentional. I was trying to manage it. I was just trying to figure it out. And I'm trying to, I'm going about it my own way. I don't give a shit what you guys say. It may have worked for you, but that won't work for me, right? I'm freaking so unique. And anyway, every time I was doing that, I was learning a little more about myself. And it's, in some ways, it's an experiment. Everything's an experiment, right? But you have to be headed somewhere. You have to be headed somewhere. And what I've learned about recovery and just life in general, Steve, I did the same thing when I think I was like about a year sober. So I was like 160 pounds when I got sober, really bad shape. I abused Adderall and opioids and alcohol, and I was taking a lot of ADHD medication. I was super skinny. I never ate anything. When I got sober, I ate everything. I gained like 70 or 80 pounds my first year sober, to the point where I was buying, they make Spanx for men. I don't know if y'all knew that, but
Yeah.
Spanx, like the form-fitting stuff, because my man boobs had gotten so out of control. I remember the day I was buying them, I was like, this is rock bottom. This is like my second rock bottom. I'm buying Spanx, about to put on my man boob. And so I, I went to a CrossFit gym and got my ass absolutely handed to me. I mean, I had bloody shins. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do a pull-up. I couldn't jump rope. And I was like, wow. But it didn't, I think what recovery taught me was that's not a sign to run away. That's a sign to lean in.
Yep.
That's a sign to go harder. That's a sign to keep going. We don't run from anything. What's the point, right? If it's uncomfortable, lean into it. It will teach you something every single time.
It's true.
I was going to say, it was kind of like how Steve had mentioned with the competition had at least put him to knowing where he was at and where he could work from there. Now it's a good place to gauge yourself.
How often do you put yourself in a place where you learn your own limits?
Daily.
Yeah.
Like intentionally run into the brick wall. This is the wall. This is a limit. This is uncomfortable. I heard this thing once where someone said learning literally hurts. It's uncomfortable. So when you get into that spot where your body and your mind go, I'm frustrated, I'm ticked off, I'm a little pissed, I'm annoyed, I am just not getting it. That is the pain of learning. And so now when I sit there and I'm at that wall, I'm going, I'm right on the edge.
Right.
I'm right here. All I have to do now is stick with it. All I have to do now is grind this feeling out. And when I grind that feeling out, I will eventually. I was fucking around in Canva. It took me forever to just figure out how to make a graphic. And I was so pissed off. I wanted to throw shit. I'm Googling stuff, whatever it is. And eventually, half an hour later, I figured it out because I kept plucking away at it. And I know it's something basic and something simple, but it's the basic and simple things that change everything.
That's the major shift when it comes to failure. Is it you do fail, whatever it is, you don't meet the goal you set out to meet. If you can start seeing that discomfort as growth and lean into it, like Matt was saying, if you can lean into the discomfort, knowing that you're becoming stronger and better and more capable, then it just you want to avoid it less. It becomes so okay to feel that because on the other side of it, there's going to be growth. I think it's important to reflect too. You look back, okay, where's this time that I failed? What did I learn from it? And give yourself credit because I think it makes the failure a little bit less uncomfortable. But yeah, failure's actually a positive thing. We just didn't grow up with that belief.
I think we as a society give failure. Failure has this negative connotation, like, oh God, don't talk about failure. It's going to hurt my feelings. It should hurt your feelings. Failure should hurt your feelings. The fear of failure should hurt your feelings. Your feelings are valid.
Right.
Listen to what that is telling you, because that's the information you need to turn around and say, shit.
I mean, they were talking about like Thomas Edison and he failed like thousands of times, before he created the light bulb and other things. And then the astronauts getting into space, like all the what is it, sims that they have to do, simulators and everything. They fail so many times. And then they get where they're going eventually, or, they do something else. But really, a lot of failure before something good happens. They just don't tell you that. We just turn on the light bulb or we look at the pictures of people on the moon, but that came from thousands of failures.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a
Yeah.
great perspective to look at all the things that we use on a daily basis, because they all came from something that messed up many a times before it ended up. Al, if they did, that's a stroke of freaking luck, isn't it? It really is.
That's why I have a second kid.
Give it another try. I think I'm going to wrap this one up. Matt, you really nailed this when you were like, recovery is just about alchemy. That's all it is, right? You take shit and turn it into something useful. I mean, and the stubbornness that comes along with it. And once we all turn around and realize that failure is really just a fear of learning more about ourselves and the changes that needed to happen so we can see the other side of it. And that's really what this was all about. I want to say thank you, Matt, Lizzie, and Katie, for showing up and sharing your experiences with us today. I think our listeners are going to love this episode and hearing the difference in perspectives in the conversation. So thank you for spending your time with us.
Thank you so much.
It's been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
As always, we want to thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to this very important conversation. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future episodes and all of the insight that comes with them.